And welcome to another edition of the Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chap, along with my guest, and he's been a frequent flyer to the Detroit Lions News Podcast. This is Nate the Great.
Fire, I like that. How you doing, boss?
And we have a lot of stuff. We have a lot of stuff planned. I mean, obviously, this is a big game this week, and honestly, when you talk about this game coming up, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, in my opinion, is like you're scared, right? I think a lot of people are scared. Now, Nate was said he's not scared. I don't really buy it. I get the.
I'll probably be more nervous as the game comes on because, like I said, we have to wait all day for it. So anxiety will definitely kick in at some point. But right now, I feel confident. Like I feel good about what we have and where we're going to be playing and in front of who and all that. I think those are all big advantages for us.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you. And obviously, the Lions, they start off this week as a 2.5-point favorite, which is good. But usually you get 3 points at home anyway, so it kind of like it varies out. So you could tell that the betting market is kind of split on this too. And I looked at some of the transactions, like the who's the more the money bet on it. It's 50-50 right now. And right now, sharp bettors are betting more on the Lions. So if you don't know who sharp bettors are, those are the people that win big in Vegas. So usually if they feel good about you, you should probably feel better about yourself. So that's got me in a little bit of
follow where the
Detroit
money's
Lions.
at.
Obviously, we got a lot. Yeah, you got to follow the money. Now, obviously, we got a lot to get to in today's show. Obviously, we have to break down the Lions versus the Vikings. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about their offense. We're going to talk about their defense. We're going to talk about some things that Detroit can exploit. Mm-hmm. We're also going to have some like little clips from the videos and everything. So that's all on the Detroit Lions News podcast. But let's start out with first, Nate. This is obviously, we talked about it, a 2.5-point favorite. This is on FanDuel. A 2.5-point favorite. It's minus 154 for the Detroit Lions, but the over-under is 56.5, which is a pretty big over-under when you think about
highest
this game
since
coming
2021. They said the highest spread. I mean, not spread, total.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this over-under is sizable. It goes along with what I've been saying the whole time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like it just goes along with like the whole. I think this is going to be a highest scoring game for sure. Like, I don't know about you. Is there anything that you think about this game that makes you hesitant that this will be a high scoring game? Because I don't see, how you think it's going to be a high scoring game sometimes, and it then turns out to be a low scoring game. Those do happen, but I don't think this is the case right here.
I mean, you look at both offenses. That's where all the stars are at. I mean, you look at the defenses. I mean, neither one right now has a star player. I mean, you could say Kirby. I mean, Kirby's a star player. The Vikings, I don't know who their star player is. Maybe Van Ginkel or something, or Gennard. But this is pretty much a no-name defense on both sides. Like, really, not a lot of attention is going to be paid to the defense. All the stars are on the offense. Like that's why that total's so high, because you have two quarterbacks that have over 30 touchdowns. You have two receivers that arguably are some of the best in the NFL. Their two receivers are just as good. And then you have some decent back for Vikings, and you have Gibbs, who's turning into a star. So, yeah. Very evenly matched team.
Yeah, so it's funny you say it, because I think that Ivan Pace on the Vikings, I think he's a star, a budding star, a younger star. Yeah. Ironically, I think Jack Campbell is becoming a star, in my opinion, the way he's been playing. And Alex Anzalone even talked about that. We'll play the clip in a minute. But Alex Anzalone been talking about, obviously, Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. I think those two are just fantastic. And I think Brian Branch hasn't even hit his level of what he could be. You know what I'm saying?
I need to see more from Brian Branch. Let's just say that right now.
I think he's had some
he's
down
had a little bit
weeks.
of a sophomore slump year.
I think he's had some down weeks for sure, but I think that he's going to turn it around. And I think that Aaron Glenn is the kind of coach that you want to play for when you're in a slump, because he's been there before. That's the main thing. That's what I look at with there. But yeah, you look at these two defenses right now. I mean, no one at the cornerback position is really a star yet. You know what I'm saying? Like people say Byron Murphy, but he's not a star yet.
No.
Obviously Terrion Arnold's a younger player. He's been playing pretty decent, but he's not a star yet. Obviously, back in the day, Gilmore was a star, Stephon Gilmore, but he's older now. So when you get older, obviously it's not the same player. So it is what it is. But here's the thing about the Vikings offense. You look at their total, yards. They're 10th in the league. They're 5th in passing yards. They're 19th in rushing yards. They don't rush the ball as well as people would think with Aaron Jones. But Aaron Jones gets a lot of plays out of the backfield in terms of receptions. They're 9th in points. They put up points like crazy. And they're 11th in third down percentage. They're obviously a good offense. But is there one thing that you look at with the Vikings offense that you kind of go, wait a minute?
Like, wait a minute, like a pause, like somebody that I'm gonna have to pay more attention to.
Like when you watch the Vikings offense, right? Like it's not like, okay, I'll put it like this: you watch the Vikings offense, and you watch them, and obviously Jefferson, Addison sneak off. They just show up right off the page. Hawkinson, right? Is there someone on the offense that we should be kind of looking at? Because I got one guy that we should be looking at. And I kind of am. He's been showing up the last couple games, in my opinion. He's been playing pretty well. Yeah, he's a Michigan State Spartan. So,
Naylor,
Jalen Naylor's he's been playing really, really good football. And if you guys remember, that same role was KJ Osborne a couple years ago. Now KJ Osborne's I think he's with the Commanders now. But Naylor's jumped right into that spot, and they were waiting for a third wide receiver to jump into that spot. Obviously, they got Hawkinson as well. He's come back pretty good, but we all know Hawkinson. Like you kind of know what you get with Hawkinson. He's not like a George Kittle.
By the way, it's Hawkinson. Ever since he left to Detroit, he's a cock.
Well, I will say he didn't blame Kirby Joseph for the hit that he took.
Nor should he, man. That's a legal tackle. Like, people need to get over that shit, man.
Well,
that's how you tackle nowadays, because you have to. They're big guys.
Well, that's there was a lot of Vikings fans that were upset about the tackle.
They cry all they want to cry about.
And then you got Rams fans that are upset because he hit Tyler Higbee, and it's like, where do you want these guys to hit? Like,
exactly, that's the tackle zone. You can't go high, can't go low. So where the hell are you gonna go? You're gonna go in the middle.
That's my point. Like it's like. Every time I talk to someone and then they say, well, hit him in the middle. I go, dude, do you understand? If you hit a player like Hawkinson in the middle, or Laporta in the middle, or let's say you put George Kittle in the middle, like if you hit them, they're going to just bounce off you because they're big dudes. Like they don't, you got a safety or a cornerback on them, it's not going to be pretty. So
if you coach football, any coach will tell you go low on the players to get them down.
Especially a bigger player like Hawkinson. Yeah. But it's funny because we mentioned this. There is one facet of the Vikings offense that kind of scares me. I'll get your opinion on this in a minute. So this is their deep passing statistics. So this is the Lions defense versus the Vikings offense. Obviously, it's an advantage to the Vikings. Yeah, Detroit's 14th. The Vikings are first. They like to take deep shots downfield. They do get a lot of. This is something to note. They do get a lot of penalties off pass interference. They do get a lot of yards off pass interference. I think they lead the league in passing interference yards gained. And Detroit's at the bottom, which makes no damn sense because you would think it would be the exact opposite, right?
Yeah, I think Goff has had only one PI his way all year.
Yeah, one PI. I think the Vikings have had like 14 or something. That's an unbelievable mark.
Crazy. Yeah.
But it's funny because like when we talk about Sam Darnold and we talk about the way that he plays, this is the most interesting stat I uncovered during my prep. So here it is. Interceptions. When he's blitzed, he has 0 interceptions. When he's not blitzed, he has 12 interceptions. It's kind of like it's like one of the most interesting statistics I've ever thought because You think about Sam Darnold and you think about, oh, well, he's Sam Darnold. Obviously, when you blitz him, he's going to panic. It's the opposite. He kind of takes deep shots when he's blitzed. You can tell yards per attempt is like, I think like 11.3. And then when he's blitzed, he likes to go over the middle. That's where he gets intercepted a lot. So if I'm Aaron Glenn, which I'm not, what I would do is I would show blitz and then I would go in the zone coverage, because for some reason, if you go in man coverage and you leave Jefferson or Addison on a man, I think that's going to be pretty brutal. But I like our safeties to cover the middle, so I think we'll be pretty well there.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at that stat, I would argue that it could be said about Goff too, because Goff is really great against the blitz. The thing is that when Goff throws interceptions, it's because he's lazy and he throws it across the middle. He anticipates something else and it gets picked. And he's got protection. A lot of those interceptions weren't forced. It was just making a bad read, and I think that's where Darnold is kind of the same way. When he's not pressured, he just makes bad decisions at times. So you're right. Yeah, you're going to have to run the zone. But I do think that if you can pressure Darnold, I take my chances on him throwing downfield with Kirby and Brian Branch, watching him the whole time, because that's one thing Green Bay doesn't have. Green Bay has Xavier, but the Lions have two guys that literally can headhunt and take out the ball from the air, and Kirby and Brian Branch. So I don't know if they'll be taking a lot of deep shots, man, because more likely Jetta's going to see safety help. And I would not be throwing to Kirby's side, because this guy has a knack for the ball. He finds the ball anywhere on the field, anywhere.
Well, I would say that about, Kirby Joseph. The one thing that is impressive about his game is the way he jumps routes. I think that's the most important thing.
That's what I'm saying. Because he's watching the eyes of the quarterback. When he picked off Brock Purdy, he watched his eyes and he telegraphed it, and he's like, I'm going for that. And he does that a lot. Even the ones he doesn't get, he's right there. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if Sam Darnold's going Jetta's way if they put Kirby on top with TA. That's going to be – you got to be careful with that one, especially with 50 balls.
The thing about putting Kirby on, in the middle and obviously he's going to cover – be shaded towards Jordan Jefferson. It feels like you could put Brian Branch shaded to the other way and you'll be fine. That's kind of like what you could do. But Brian Branch had that kind of iffy kind of way. And that's another guy who kind of he could show out sometimes. And I think Iffy's a guy who.
So you want to know my thought process on how they're going to cover these receivers?
Yeah.
And then you can tell me yours. So I think that TA is going to guard Jetta with safety help with Kirby. And I think that Iffy is going to play back safety. And Brian Branch is going to cover the nickel with Naylor. And then Meek's going to guard Addison.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, kind of. Yeah. I think that's the way that they're going to have to do it. And I do like the way Meek Robertson's playing. I know you got to get your pizza soon, so just be on the lookout. But I just wanted to play this clip. This is from if you can't hear it, just let me know. But this is from Mr. Aaron Glenn.
AG.
That player is so hard on himself. It kind of reminds me of who I was as a player, of want to be perfect in everything, trying to perfect your craft of who you want to be, who you're trying to be. He asks the right questions. His practice habits are like no other. And that's pre-practice, during practice, and after practice of him trying to improve. In every part of his game, he wants to make sure he's top notch. I'm not surprised that he's a Pro Bowler. That's not what he's looking at, right? He's just looking at trying to be the best he can. If anything like that comes along, it comes along. He just want to be the best player he can. And that's no different than Kirby Joseph. I mean, to me, Kirby Joseph is a Pro Bowler also. He might not have it by name, all right, but he is a Pro Bowler, in my opinion. I think he's a Pro Bowler in a lot of people's opinion across this league, too. We know where that all comes from, all right? But he is one of the best, if not the best, safety in this league also.
He's talking about Meek, or is he talking about Brian Branch before that?
He's talking about Kirby. He's talking about Kirby and Meek. So.
Oh, okay.
And then
Yeah,
Kirby
I mean,
and Brian Branch.
Okay, Kirby and Brian Branch. Okay, I thought you were talking about Meek. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, listen, before the season started, we had Brian Branch on an all-pro discussion. I think Brian Branch it's been up and down. There's times where he's looked really good, and there's times where he's looked a little rusty, missing tackles. The thing with Brian Branch that I have the biggest problem with is more of the mental thing right now. These PIs have got to stop. Like
I agree there.
I mean, they're stupid. Like they're weak calls, but you got to understand that the refs are all over the Lions. Literally, the refs have a vendetta against the Lions, and they know that they play a physical game, and it's going to be hard to not get personal fouls or holding calls or whatever. And so Brian Branch has got to be better on that end. I need him to not make those dumb mistakes and cost us points or cost us yards, especially against a team like Minnesota. Like, we need to get that team off the field, period.
I have a feeling, though, like, in my opinion, like, I think Brian Branch is going to have a Brian Branch type game. I think that he's been kind of.
We need him. We need him to do that.
I think, like you said, I think he's been hitting like a little bit of a lull. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's a confidence issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even like a issue with him as a player, because we all know as a player he is a very good damn player.
Oh, he's a great player. I think he's having a little bit of a slump, man. I mean, sophomore slump. I think he had a great first year, and defenses are starting to attack him a lot more, which is that happens in the NFL. He's got to adjust and get better, but he's still a good player. And honestly, Kirby is kind of taking the mantle. I mean, I'm not mad about it.
Sure.
That both are studs, and we need both to be on a high level. Hey, let me go get my pizza real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, you're good. So he's gonna go get his pizza, and we're gonna move on to the next portion of it. Obviously, if you know the injury report, you know the injury report. So no practice today was Christian Mahogany, Emmanuel Mosley, and Dave Montgomery. We know that Dave Montgomery was going to be. We knew that he wasn't going to be a guy that was going to be potentially, a guy who was going to be practicing, obviously, because he's still dealing with the injury. And obviously, if you're talking about the first round bye, you're talking about potentially him coming back at that point. At full practice, though, was Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Meek Robertson, and Khalif Raymond. So when you got those guys coming back, it seems like Alex Anzalone is trending in the right direction. And if we're going to be honest, that's a great thing for the Detroit Lions. If Alex Anzalone is able to come back, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. You know what's so funny about Alex is everybody want to shit on Alex about why is he still on this team? Man, we're so glad to have him back. Who cares what the thoughts were before, because we see what life is without Alex.
Oh yeah,
like, it's bad. It's bad.
No, yeah. Oh juice.
Woo, he's already going black.
Yeah, we're going with the black uniforms. I actually got a black one right there. For some reason, my brightness went down. Anyways, when you talk about Alex Anzalone potentially come back, I think that's a definite need that the Lions need in terms of
huge, man. It's huge.
Just leadership. And you know what the funny thing is? Nate, is when I watch the film, right? I go back and I'll watch the film and I'll figure it out, right? One of the things I keep seeing in coverage with the linebackers is them either one or the other. Okay, either they're not finding their assignments, or they are totally
anticipating too early,
or they're anticipating too early. That's good. That's a good one right there. Or the second part about it is they're so confused in coverage. Like some of these linebackers, like God love him, Ezekiel Turner. He made that damn good tackle against Mr. Jordan Love. Yeah. But he has been brutal in coverage, like really, really bad. And it's not his fault, because he was inserted into the role because they needed
him off the streets, bro. What do you expect?
Right. But what I say about Ezekiel Turner is, like, he is not Alex Anzalone, and you can tell Jack Campbell is all out there by himself, and even Campbell, like, you could tell that he's trying to cover for other players on the defense because he knows that someone's going to miss their assignment. So he starts, shading that way. And then when he shades that way, all of a sudden you have, he starts shading that way, and then they just go the other way. It's the craziest.
Yeah,
thing
it's no different than like looking at the O line. Like if Decker's on one side and your guards are missing, you're not going to be at full attention because you're going to have to know that you have to help out somebody in the middle to make sure they're okay and worry about your game too at the same time. But when you got a guy like Graham, that's why they installed Graham back in there. Even though Mahogany played well that last game, it's because Graham and Decker know well and they're good. Like Decker doesn't have to worry about Graham. Hey, Graham's got his own. He's fine. But with Mahogany being a rookie, you got to wonder, hey, is he going to be okay? Is he going to have a better game the second time? That's a perfect example because I feel like that's the way Jack feels right now. Jack's worried about what these linebackers are doing, and he kind of forgets about himself because he's got to focus on what they're doing. With Alex coming back, him and Alex are good. Hey, I got my brother back. We're good, man. He knows what I know.
Then you have Neiman in there or JRM, and it's not like you're losing that much. At least you get Alex Anzalone back, and even just the leadership of Alex Anzalone is huge. Like it's paramount, and
absolutely.
I think that's the biggest thing about.
And he's a good player. Let's not sniff at it. He's a good player. Like before he got hurt, he was playing at a very high level. Like he's definitely needed, especially for his tackling. Like he's so fast and he can cover too.
It's funny because I heard on the radio today. There was a guy named Mike Valeni, and he's all right. Sometimes he comes up with good stuff. Now he does go overboard, but he was saying this is where you kind of don't when you talk about the Lions and you talk about statistics and data, you could see a huge drop off when Alex Anzalone went down, right? Yeah. Obviously, there was a drop off when Carlton Davis and McNeil went down, but obviously there was a bigger drop off when Anzalone went down. And I would say to people is, he was saying, well, he's not Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu. I'm like, they're safeties, dude. Like it's kind of like this. Like I'm a hockey guy. I know there's hockey guys out there, but if you got a defenseman who is a stalwart, right? He's a guy that's back there, he has leadership, he's a veteran of that crew, and you take him off it, and there's a young nucleus that is taking his place. It's not going to be the same. Like it's just not going to be the same. And its linebacker is the same thing. And you brought up a good point about Graham. Being the communication on the offensive line is paramount. And if you don't have a good communication, like
trust,
one misstep on like your communication is getting your quarterback killed. Okay, so that's what can happen when your quarterback when you're not in communication. And communication is the biggest thing in this thing.
Sure,
and it's going to be paramount against the Vikings because we know the Vikings. The coaches know the Vikings. They know exactly what to prepare for. They know exactly the plan for. And Alex Anzalone's seen a lot of the Vikings in Kevin O'Connell's offense, so I'm sure that he can call out their stuff. So that's why it would be huge to get him back for this game. And you were talking about before the show, you were talking about how if getting Alex Anzalone back, like he is looking at, it's looking like
he's gonna play, man. I should be shocked if he doesn't play for this big of a game. He's got to play.
It's looking like he's gonna come back, and you said that this is like a big confidence booster in your morale.
It helps a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what I was. So what's your rationale for Alex Anzalone being a big confidence booster for you? You think
so? One of the reasons why we haven't even talked about is he knows AG.
Yeah.
AG can go to him and say, "Hey, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. I want the defense to do this and that." And Alex like, "I got it. I know." You tell that to Ezekiel Turner or Ben Neiman or Nowoski, they're like, okay, I think I can do that. No, Alex knows AG. Like that's why Alex is here is because of AG. Like he knows like every part of your defense has a quarterback. Like the D line, now that Aleem's out, it's Za'Darius.
Yep.
On the linebackers, it's Alex. On the secondary, it's Kirby and Brian Branch.
Yep.
You know, like everybody has a leader of their position, and Jack's been playing awesome. I don't want to take anything away from Jack. Jack is going to be a starting linebacker for us for the years to come, and is only going to get better. He's only 24 years old.
There's only so much he could do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the point.
But,
that's the point you're
but
trying
having but having Alex the back is going to help him so much because it's going to allow him to roam and Alex to go back to the mic. Not saying Jack can't play the mic, but you want Jack roaming because then you put him on coverage, then you can make those big pops in the middle, and Alex can do what Alex does, and that's a great tackler, end-to-end speed, can cover at times, can rush the quarterback. Like you just get another weapon to AG to use on this defense. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, and I think that it's obviously when you talk about AG and you talk about this Lions team, like obviously it helps to have a guy back like Alex Anzalone. And honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Getting Alex Anzalone back is like getting your leader back. You know what I'm saying? And even though Hutchinson on the field, even though Liam's not on the field, or Carlton Davis, he's one of the leaders that you rely on, and that could be a huge piece because then you're talking about Ben Neiman going to the other side of the linebacker and him being that part, or Trevor Nowatzki being a guy who could just come in and be, they're doing
lesser roles, and you get your guy, your starter back. Anytime you put your starter back, everybody kind of goes back to their roles.
But what I'm saying is, you could put him in the best possible role for them for that game.
They're not overcompensating themselves. They're back to where they feel comfortable. That's a great point.
And that's kind of like what I'm going at, because I think when you talk about Anzalone and you talk about what he does great, well, the things that he does great is being the leader, and that's the main portion that the people don't think about. Yeah. So, let's see. There's a couple comments here. We'll go with this. Big Dan Davis, my man, Big Dan Davis. Let's go. What does this defense have to do to be better to defend against the deep ball? Purdy was killing us with the deep ball, big chunk plays. It was hard to watch at times.
Well, for sure. For one, get sacks. You got to get pressure and sacks. Like Purdy, if he's back there, listen, any quarterback will pick you apart with no pressure.
Right.
And
for sure.
So Darnold, you have to put Darnold in pressure. You have to try to sack him. You have to get him on the ground. You have to force him off platform, making dumb decisions.
Yep.
Rush his throws. Like, if you do that, then the secondary doesn't matter.
Right.
The secondary will do its thing.
Well, I'll go back to it. So I went back and I watched the film of I got the all 22 from the NFL Pro, and that's great stuff because you can watch just the defense, you can just watch the offense, stuff like that. So I watched all the defense on Tuesday, and I was mortified at some of the things I saw. I mean, obviously we had some communication issues that were paramount, especially in the linebacker core. But what I saw from the defensive backs in the first half, I was mortified with, because it wasn't like it felt like they were sleepwalking for the first half, right? Like, I know the game didn't mean anything, and you could kind of tell in the first half the defense really thought it didn't mean anything, because in the first half they played.
But how many seconds did they have to guard their receivers with no pressure?
Well, that's another part, but the other part about it was they were getting beat deep, on quick, like they would come out of their routes, like. Ricky Pearsall came out of his route on one play, and he was wide open. He beat Meek Robertson pretty bad, but Meek Robertson got some good. His acceleration allowed him to get back to the receiver. But they were just falling behind really quickly, and there was another thing where Terrion Arnold, I think he was going against Juan Jennings, which. Juan Jennings is an idiot too, but they were going against Juan Jennings, and he broke over the middle, which is his specialty, going over the middle. It was a deep crosser route, and Terrion thought he was going to give it off to Brian Branch, and Brian Branch thought he was going to go, do his own cover, and that's where they got lost. So that's kind of what you see with
and when you have breakdowns in the secondary, touchdowns happen.
So and I'll give them credit. Both of those were not touchdowns, which was surprising. The ones that were touchdowns were kind of like the ball was in Purdy's hand too long. He was doing a lot with a little, and it was interesting because I was like, okay, I could feel better. I could feel better about the defense in the second half than I did in the first half, and I feel like it was kind of like they didn't take the game seriously in the first half. That's my opinion.
I'll give you my opinion. I felt that AG in the first half ran a little bit more of a soft coverage. I don't know why. Because it looked like they weren't really pressing or playing the line. They were giving them more space, which allowed the receivers to get through their breaks and get open quicker. Preferably, Kittle killed them. And I said that in our podcast. And I think I said in your podcast. If Kittle gets wild, it opens up for everybody.
Yep.
And that's exactly what Kittle did. He yacked all game. He freaking got the ball and just ran over people. Like, you can't let Kittle do that. If you let Kittle do that, then it's like the run game. If you don't stop the run, then the pass happens. You got to make them one-dimensional. And the fact is that they did it. They couldn't stop Kittle. And then Juwan Jennings started getting open. Then Pearsall started getting open. And then before you know it, it's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I feel like when you let Kittle get wide open, not wide open, but if you start letting him get free and he starts doing his whole run after the catch and all that jazz, he opens up that offense. And that's one of the guys.
He is their offense. He starts with him first.
That's one of the reasons that San Francisco, when Christian McCaffrey is healthy, is such a tough offense to stop. And, a lot of people credit Kyle Shanahan. And, Kyle Shanahan is a pretty good offensive mind. But damn, it helps to have George Kittle, and damn it helps to have Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel.
Oh, yeah.
And Ricky Pearsall kid, he's going to be a really good receiver too. So that's another one.
He kind of had a coming out party. I'll say this: Hockenson is not Kittle by no means.
No. Hockenson
but he can get off at times, and the Lions have to do a good job of shutting him down. So
you brought up Hockenson. So Darcy said right here, what do you say? Where is it? Who's covering Hawkins stuff? So Hawkins stuff. Okay.
It's Hockenson.
Oh boy, we're just getting all the nicknames today.
Oh, I've been calling Hockenson since he got traded. But go ahead.
Yeah. Who's covering Hockenson?
It's going to be a mixture of Iffy and a mixture of probably Alex or Jack. I really do think that. I really do think, because we saw Iffy cover Kittle at times, and
that's another reason why it's so huge to have Iffy back, man. Because I feel like Iffy really, I'm gonna be honest,
you could put him anywhere.
He could blitz the quarterback if you need. Those blitzes are phenomenal. He can cover tight ends, which when he covered Kittle, I think Kittle didn't catch any passes, so that's something to monitor in this game too. But if he's such a huge piece of this puzzle, because like we were talking about with Anzalone, right? Mm-hmm. Because Brian Branch or Kirby Joseph are so effing good, right? Mm-hmm. You could say if he's like your gadget player, like he's gonna go out there, he's gonna get you he's gonna be your matchup guy, like you're gonna play him on this guy, you're gonna send him on a blitz on this one, you're gonna do this on this one. There's so many ways you can use Iffy.
Yeah, Iffy and Brian Branch are two chess pieces that you can literally line up anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's why it was important getting Iffy back, and probably a reason why we let Jamal Adams go too, is because Iffy can play that role that they probably wanted Jamal Adams to play, but Iffy already knows the system. AG obviously would love to have him back because he utilized him the first game he came back. He was everywhere and he played a lot of snaps. So, I mean, you can line those guys up anywhere on the field, down in the box, play them deep and all that. When you have versatile pieces like that, that just gives offenses fits.
Well, I would say this too. Iffy Melifonwu, with the one thing that he does that kind of makes up for, Jamal, you brought up Jamal Adams, right? Mm-hmm. And Jamal Adams is not good in pass coverage, but Iffy's better in pass coverage than Jamal Adams. So that's a trade-off that you're willing to take. Plus, it feels like Iffy just makes clutch plays. Like he's around some kind of play where he's making some kind of play, and it's just beautiful. But
they will definitely have Iffy blitzing Darnold. I guarantee you that. That's one thing Green Bay didn't really do, is they didn't blitz him from the cornerbacks or safeties. I guarantee you AG is going to blitz either Branch or he's going to blitz Iffy on Darnold and see if Darnold can escape that.
Oh, yeah. Donnie says here, back-to-back NFC North champs.
Let's
I'm
go.
calling it right
I
now.
love it, Donnie.
41-38 Lions. Now, if you got a score in mind, drop it because we're gonna give our scores at the end of the podcast. And
I'm still thinking about mine.
Yeah, well, I'm still thinking about mine. I've debated 4 different scores in my mind. I brought it down from 6 to 4, so I'm hopefully I can get it down to 2 and 1 by the end of the podcast. So we'll figure it out.
Good.
And we got Donnie says also if Alex in fact does play, that'll be huge. Anzalone will help us with pressure. Also, that's what we need to mess Darn up. He's been too comfortable lately. We got to wreck his game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I also think that him coming to Detroit is the big momentum kind of swing too. Because if this game was in Minnesota, I feel a lot less comfortable. But since it's in Detroit, I know that those fans, I know you beautiful bastards. You beautiful bastards are gonna be so loud. You're gonna go and
it's gonna be insane, bro.
You are gonna lose your effing voice. And if you don't lose your voice, you're a bitch. But that's beside the point. Now, here's the thing. You guys do impact you do impact the game. Like the Lions fans do impact the game. I think this is becoming one of the biggest and best home field advantages in the NFL. Definitely. I think if you're going to talk about home field advantages, you got to talk about the Vikings. I think they got a good home field advantage. I think you got to talk about Seattle. They got a good home field advantage. Jerry World does not have a home field advantage. I don't care what anybody says.
Kansas
City, New Orleans when they were tough. They had a really raucous crowd. You know, New Orleans always gets down to them. Prayers to New Orleans for the attack that happened the other day. But yeah, there's few stadiums that get as loud as Ford Field. Like I've been there when it got loud, and I swear to God, dude, that NFC Championship game, well, not that divisional game, I lost my hearing for 2 days. No shit. It was crazy. It's crazy. Especially after that Derek Barnes interception. That was oh man.
Derek Barnes. I can hear Dan Miller's call.
Man, that was so great.
Let's do it again.
Leo says, so what did I miss? We're going to win this weekend, and Anzalone and Hutch return. Hutch is not returning yet.
No.
That'll probably be later in the season.
Super Bowl, baby.
So Anzalone he looks like he's returning for sure. So that'll be good. But
2 full practices. I mean, they didn't put pads on today, so but Dan had said in his presser that today was important. And so he's gonna play. I mean, dude, this game means so much for the Lions. I mean, everything's on the table. I can't see Alex sitting out this, knowing that they need him bad.
No, I don't see Alex Anzalone sitting out this game either. I think this is a game that
if you're able to walk, you're gonna play.
I think he's gonna play for sure. I think he's gonna get back in the swing of things. And I think he wants that bye. I think this team wants this bye because it would really be beneficial for them to get the bye.
Sure.
And you know what? Let's talk about the offense now, Mr. Nate the Great, because we have to talk about this offense that we have here. They'll be going against the Vikings defense, who is 18th in total yards. They're 28th in passing yards. They get up 243.6 a game. Rushing, they're really good against 88.1, second in the NFL. 4th in points at 18.8. Third down percentage, 35.3. So when you think about that, obviously,
attack him through the air.
You're going to attack him through the air. But, you know, a lot of people talk about the blitz, right? They talk about the Brian Flores blitz packages. And it seems like both of these quarterbacks do better when you blitz them. But Jared Goff is one of the best in the league against the blitz.
Goff's here's his numbers against anything.
Here's his numbers against the blitz. So if the Vikings blitz at 38%, that's highest in the NFL. This is Goff versus the blitz, 69.7 completion percentage, third in the NFL. He has 1,300 yards through the air. That's sixth in the NFL. His 9.0 yards per attempt, it's fourth in the NFL. 13 touchdowns, tied for fourth in the NFL, and 8 sacks. That's the fifth lowest in the NFL.
Wow.
So when Goff gets pressured through the blitz, he does a damn good job at getting rid of the ball. And I will tell you this, if Brian Flores wants to attack him with the blitz, they're going to have a rough time because this is
you know what Ben's going to do. He's going to run J-Mo and go routes.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Mr. Nate, because this is another stat I have. Short passing. Well, this was deep passing. I totally messed this up. Deep passing. Lions offense versus Vikings defense. The Detroit Lions rank 4th in deep passing. The Vikings rank 20th. Now, if we compare that in comparison with the Detroit Lions, what their deep passing rate is, so deep passing, the Vikings are first. We're 14th.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like both these teams they could definitely chuck it through the air.
That's why you're expecting a high-scoring game, because both secondaries are suspected to deep balls. But I want to say one thing, because when you watch that Whacker game versus the Vikings last week, Love did not attack the deep. Like, he did not. That's why Brian Flores was able to make him look so bad, is because if you're not throwing deep and you're not really running the ball, well, all he's going to do is just sit there and take away the short game for you. Like, you have to attack them deep. You have to get that defense, those safeties back. And Love did not do that. Goff will do that. I promise you. They will take shots down just to keep the defense honest, because they know that you've got to first off, you got to utilize JMO. Anytime you have JMO, put the ball in JMO's hands, he can score a touchdown. He's that fast. And you have to utilize that. You have to utilize it. By you not taking deep shots of JMO, it's a discredit to the offense by not using him that way, because that's what you brought him in for, is those deep shots. Now, he's increased his route tree, and he was a lot better in the short and intermediate routes, but you want him on those deep shots. You have to get him on those deep shots, because if you can hit him on those deep shots, Gilmore and Brian Murphy cannot cover that dude. I guarantee you. JMO will run right by them left and right. So that's why I say the blitz, if he brings the blitz, Goff's going to find the hot route, which will hopefully be JMO in deep shots.
Well, I want to play this clip by Ben Johnson, because he was talking about Jameson Williams today and his maturation, how he got better. So
yeah,
I'll do that.
That was good.
It's really taken off now at this point. He's very detailed, very smart, and that might go unnoticed, but you say something to him and you coach him, and it hits him. He understands it, and so I think because he's so smart, he's able to really grasp what we're trying to do, and it's just a matter of getting him all the reps and all the looks, and he's been really good here second half of the season.
Yeah, I agree.
So you see him talking about Ben Johnson. I mean, Jameson Williams, and obviously we've talked about Jameson Williams, how good he's been. Obviously this year he's been damn good, man, damn good. And I just everyone that was kind of like doubting the kid. I remember there was a lot of people that were out there. They were saying this Jameson Williams kid, he's a bust or something, some stupid like that. But I said to people, if he hits his stride, he will make this offense better. We talked about this on the post-game podcast when you were on.
Right.
And, he is making this team better. Like, this team does have added dimension with Jameson Williams. And obviously, when you got St. Brown going over the middle, you got Laporta going over the middle, you got Gibbs catching passes from the run back position. I mean, this is a difficult offense to stop. And if Brian Flores wants to blitz and he wants to leave areas open for JMO and Goff to get on stride, I think that is the biggest mistake. And I also think it's a big mistake if Aaron Glenn does the same thing, because I feel like both of these offenses and both of these receivers on both of these receiving groups are just like, they can make their own. They can make you pay by themselves. So that's the biggest.
I've always said, live by the blitz, die by the blitz. So it's hard. I think Brian Flores stubbornly will blitz the whole time, because that's just what he does. AG knows when to pull back and when to blitz. Like, if you watch the Niner game, he didn't blitz in the first half. He let Purdy sit back there and torched us. And the second half, he brought some of the heat on him. So, B-Flow is going to be the same way. He's gonna stay his whatever works for him. He's going to do it, no matter if it's right or wrong. He's going to stick to his guns. AG's willing to adjust. He showed that in the last game. I personally think that, if we just compare the cornerbacks, and I hope I'm right when I say this, our cornerbacks are better than their cornerbacks. TA's been playing really well lately. A lot of people aren't talking about TA, But there's a stat. If I can pull this stat up, I want to show you it. I was really surprised by this stat, but it speaks to TA and how it's gotten better. I don't know where it is, but I remember what it was. It was under 70 snaps, the 70 snaps one, where he's only given up about 50% completions or something like that. He was like sixth on the list.
The lowest catch rate, yeah.
Yeah, and guess who was right above him? Quinyon Mitchell. Everybody's been singing Quinyon Mitchell all year, and TA, that was a pretty impressive stat to see about TA. And then Meek Robinson, I think Meek's an outside corner, man. I think the nickelback's gonna have to go to either Branch or Rakestraw going forward. But I think Meek's an outside corner. The guy competes. He competes. Yeah. He plays hard. He covers well. He's sticky. You know, he reminds me of Nevin Lawson, but he doesn't hold. Remember Nevin Lawson? Nevin Lawson was kind of like Meek. He was very gritty, very, very aggressive, very physical, but he held all the damn time. That's why he doesn't have. That's why he's not in the NFL anymore. Meek's a combination of Nevin, where he's more physical, great tackler, but he doesn't get holding calls, which is good. You know, like he's just aggressive, but he's aggressive in a smart way. Like TA needs to see how Meek does it and doesn't get called for things. That's the next thing for TA. If he can finally get to that point, TA is going to be a stud. Just right there.
Oh, for sure. So I wanted to show this to the people because I think this is important. So this is, if you guys could see it, this is the matchup comparisons between the two teams. So you can see the Vikings offense versus the Lions defense. They got a lot of mismatches that they could obviously do. And you brought up passing versus the no blitz. The Detroit Lions are ranked 21st in the NFL when they don't blitz.
Yeah,
so that's something to really monitor. Obviously, the Lions, they on their offense, which in terms of their offense compared to the Vikings defense, every area they rank ahead of the Vikings. Every area. I mean, you look at long passing, which I talked about, they're first, and the Vikings are 11. Deep passing, Detroit's fourth, and that's why I brought up the stat right here. Where is it? I brought up this stat right here. That's deep passing, but passing versus pressure, Detroit's third.
Yeah, this game's gonna be about offenses. There's no doubt. The highlight of this games are gonna be offenses. The defense, whoever creates turnovers, that's gonna win the game.
Yeah,
because you have the Minnesota Vikings, who I think are number one in turnovers, forced turnovers, and you got Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, who lead safeties and interceptions combined. So, I mean, it's going to come down to turnovers. The Lions need to force turnovers and not turn over the ball. That's the recipe for victory. Offense will do
Here's another stat, too. The Lions and Vikings combined 28 wins are the most by any opponents in any regular season game in NFL history.
It's crazy.
So, this is a first game. There have only been 5 playoff matchups between teams with at least 14 wins, none of which have ever came before the conference championship game. So a lot of people are talking about this game being a de facto like NFC championship type thing, and I could totally see that. But
you know what's funny is if you watch Dan's presser, he kind of debunked that theory, because he goes like, this is just the next game this is the next game we have in front of us. He said that we're still in the playoffs. Like we still got to play the playoffs. Like this is just the last game of the year. Yeah, it's for everything and all the marbles, but we're still going to be there after this game's over. Like you act like we're going to lose. Like if we lose, we're out. We still got the playoffs coming up. This is just a precursor to the playoffs. That's all it is.
Oh, I totally agree with that. My point about it is like, I think if you look at this game in particular with the two teams, like the I for some reason I left the room for some reason.
You're good.
But anyways, when I look at this game, I just look at it like it is. Like it just it's an interesting way about it, and it's
the scary thing about this matchup is that we could very well see them again if we get all the way to the championship. Like, and the good thing is that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but this is probably the best offense we'll face in the NFC to the Super Bowl. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think when you look at these two teams, man, and it just like obviously the Eagles are an offense that you go, okay, I could do some with the Eagles. Like they're a pretty damn good team, right? But
They're
also,
more run based. They throw at times, but they're more run based.
but also, I
They
think that
allow Saquon.
one of the things you worry about with the Eagles though is well, one, Jalen Hurts' health because he's not playing this week again. That's an issue. Kenny
And
Pickett's
the team's gonna
hurt.
stop Saquon.
Yeah, I mean, if you can stop Saquon, that's a big part of it. But I really worry about the
I think Hurts will be okay. He had a concussion. I mean, he should have been cleared already.
that's what I'm saying. That doesn't make any sense, man. Like when you think about Hurts and you think about what is he really dealing with, man? Like what is he really dealing with? Because if he's dealing with more than a concussion, I mean, he should have been back by now. I think we can all agree that.
Well, Nick Sirianni probably held him out, I'm sure.
Yeah, that could be true too, but I don't know, man. It just
I mean, he sat
seems,
Saquon down before the record was broken, so go figure. You know,
it just seems like he's there's something more to the story, whatever.
not possibly. Yeah, I mean, why did you trade for Pickett? That's my thing. It's kind of a weird. It's kind of a weird. Jalen Hurts is a former, MVP or whatever, or play the Super Bowl, and then you go out and get a starting quarterback to back him up. I don't know. Eagles' situation with quarterbacks is just weird. When they had Carson Wentz, they went out and drafted Jalen Hurts. I don't know, man. Screw the Eagles.
It's weird. So here's a clip from Jack Campbell. He was talking about, not Jack Campbell, Alexander Zaloni on Jack Campbell's leadership. We'll play that clip right here. Where is it?
How do you feel about Jack's development in his time that he was out there in your absence?
Yeah, it's good. I think that, he's done a really good job just, taking control and, being the play caller out there. And I think that, he's going to continue to grow. And, it's good to see, a young guy kind of take the reins in that regard. So, I'm proud of him.
So, yeah, that's exactly what Alexander Zaloni, you heard that, right?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay, cool. So Alexander Zaloni is talking about Jack Campbell's development. And I think we are all pretty happy with Jack's development. So that was one of the
Jack's
things.
been one of the best players in this defense this year, for sure.
Well, I put this statistic up a couple weeks ago, but I don't really think it's changed. But he is the ninth best linebacker in football per Pro Football Focus. So that's something that
the maturation for me for Jack going forward is forcing more turnovers. Getting some sacks, like adding more to your stat line. Like he's a great tackler. He's good at coverage when needed. He always has good grade. It's just adding more turnovers and more sacks to your stat line. I think that's the next step for Dak. If he can do that, you're talking about a top 5-10 linebacker in the NFL every year.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It also I want to bring this up. It seems like the Lions have released Tom Kennedy, so I think that brings Cleve Freeman
Leaf
back.
is back.
So
that's huge.
I think that's what it means. Also, this is a funny one. So I was thinking about this earlier, because I was trying to prep for the podcast and all that jazz, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna figure this out. But I was laughing because Dan Campbell, he says he really doesn't care what it looks like. We just gotta win. And I gotta play this video because this is funny as hell. Because one, anytime Dan Campbell says something, you're like, all right, that's it, that's funny. But Dan Campbell is a
Campbellisms, yeah.
So I'll play it right now.
Look, we're very comfortable on the road. And I've said it before, I think that comes with your preparation, time on task, guys doing it for a long period of time, the way we train, guys, they just handle those things well. So yeah, hey, we'll do what we got to do. Now our mindset is wholly on this game right now, and You don't see it another way. I don't see it another way. It's about this next game, and it's about finding a way to win. No different than what we just did. We had to find a way to win that game, San Francisco. Against a team that really, they gave us what they had, and they played hard. We had to do it in Chicago the week before, so it's the next one. It's the next one in front of us, and we got to find a way to win this game. Period. And really, don't care what it looks like. We just got to win.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like what I'm saying about Dan Campbell. Like, I really don't think he cares what it looks like, to be honest. Like,
No,
I don't
absolutely not.
And I really don't think any of us care what it looks like, to be honest. Like, I think a lot of people, I keep hearing about like the Lions defense and everything. Like, I just kind of like want to get Alex Anzalone back and then see where we're at right from there.
Right.
My expectation of being in a Super Bowl kind of waned with Lee McNeil going down. But I still have the hope that this team could do it because I think this offense is good enough to get us by. Like, I think if we get the home field advantage and we stay home for the playoffs, there's not going to be one team that's going to come in here and try to outscore us. And I think that's the main thing. Like, I don't care whose defense comes in here. The Lions are going to be on the fast track. It's going to be like kind of like when the Saints were in the playoffs, right? You wanted to avoid going to New Orleans. You wanted to avoid going to New Orleans at all costs. And I think it's going to be the same here in Detroit. Like, if you get home field advantage, teams are going to be like, oh, shit.
Yeah, they're going to have to come in and take it from us. They're going to have to come in and play a perfect game knowing that we got our crowd. We got all the momentum. Listen, if the Lions get the number 1 seed, that just tells me you're one step away from the Super Bowl. Like, you take care of business at home. You do your thing. You find a way to win. You're going to Super Bowl because all the roads lead in Detroit to the Super Bowl. Like, and when Dan says that about finding ways to win, he's always said that. That's been a mantra of him lately a lot. And I'll tell you this. I like how he says it because he doesn't downplay the competition. He just knows that his team's got to win. That's it. It doesn't matter what it looks like. We can win by 50. We can win by 2. We could throw 5 picks and win a game. We just got to win. That's all that matters.
Yep.
And that's the mentality you want your coach to have because it spills into the players. Because all they know is, hey, we just got to get the dub. That's why you see a lot of the times where the Lions come out looking flat and crap, and the second half they wake up. Because I guarantee he probably tells them at halftime, hey, guys, we're only down 5 or 10 points. We just got to win. Nobody says we have to win by style points. We just got to win. And that's it flips a switch,
They did enough of that early on. I really don't care about the style points, to be honest.
You're not going to do that against good teams, bro. The games get closer. The margins are more thinner. You just got to find a way to win. That's what he's basically saying. Like, the competition is going to increase and get better.
Yeah, I don't think that the style points matter when you get to this time of the year. And obviously everyone's hurt and everything. And I just go back to what Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller say on SiriusXM with Detroit. They talk about Detroit can outscore anyone. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And they were talking about today how when you come play Detroit, do you have to get aggressive? Because if you kick field goals against Detroit, you're probably going to lose. You probably are going to lose. Mm-hmm. And Pat says, like, look at the first meeting between the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings kicked 3 field goals, and the Lions kicked 1, and that one won them the game. So that's just kind of what you deal with the Detroit Lions. Like, I don't care about not winning spectacularly. I don't really need that. Like, I've seen enough of that this year, like with the Jaguars,
it's the NFL,
and the Cowboys,
man. It's not college football. Who cares?
But it's not college football, so that's exactly that's the point. All right, let's get to some comments, and then we'll wrap the podcast and everything like that. So.
Okay.
Because it's been a good one, so I think people are enjoying it. Here we got Leo. He says 38-35 Lions. He says that 38 Lions, 35 Vikings here. Big Dan Davis says we are wearing the black jerseys too. We are wearing the black jerseys. Mm-hmm. A lot of people said, "Oh, they're not going to wear the black jerseys." Well, what are they practicing it with their helmet right now, man? Come on, like
Motor City Muscle.
Let's keep it in perspective right here. Ironically, the 2 losses were at home. They were to playoff teams though, Tampa and a mobile QB, and needless to say, Buffalo. Yeah, here's what I say about that, Randy. Like, a lot of people look at it like, okay, you lost to Buffalo. Okay.
To the MVP possibly.
That game could have gone either way, right? Like I look at that Buffalo game and I go, if they would have got to stop here, if they would have got to stop here, they would have won the game. Like I think that's what I look at. Like I think that game was more close than people think, and the score was. And obviously, Dan Campbell going for the onside kick, he knew what it was. He knew what he was going up against. Josh Allen's a human freakazoid. Like he's like your build a character in Madden and just run people over. Like he's an unbelievable.
You know what I see as a pattern for both those games. They took the fight to us early. The Bucks, they didn't blow us out because the game was pretty close throughout. But the Bucks were more physical and more aggressive, and they took the fight to us early in that game, and they found a way to win. Buffalo just kicked our ass. Buffalo kicked our ass in the first quarter, and we had to play catch up the whole game. That's the difference of those two games. They took the fight to us early. So what does Detroit have to do? We have to get up early, and we have to get up early fast. Like, we can't be coming in lethargic and stuff like that because this Minnesota team is going to play for that 1 seed. They want that 1 seed too. So the Lions got to be on their P's and Q's and be ready to kick ass right off the gate.
Well, what I will say about those two games too, I thought those games were the offense did come to play in the first few quarters.
Yeah, that's
like
what I'm saying. We started off slow. They took the fight to us.
If you go back to the Buccaneers game, they missed so many opportunities in the red zone.
Yeah.
And then you go with the Buffalo game. Like they punted, they went 3 and out twice to start the game. Like you can't do that, man. Like especially like they still had a chance to win against the Buccaneers. Like they still had a chance to win.
Should have won that.
But if you do that against like Josh Allen, you are effed, dude. You are effed because once they start going, man, they just won't stop, man. That's the way. That's
it's the level of quarterback play. You're talking about Baker Mayfield versus the MVP and Josh Allen. I mean, that's why for me, Darnold doesn't scare me. Like Darnold's a good quarterback. You know, he's had a good year. The guy doesn't scare me. You know, like he's not Josh Allen. I mean, I don't know, man. I like Baker Mayfield. I think Baker's been balling out this year. I still take Baker over Darnold just because of his moxie and his aggressiveness and his confidence. I think Darnold, man, if you get Darnold in the hole early, I think he it's hard for him to come out of it. You know?
Well, see, I had a conversation with a buddy who's a Vikings fan, and I want to get your input on this because I thought it was a hilarious conversation, to be honest. He said he would take Darnold over Baker Mayfield. Now, I said the reason I take Baker Mayfield over Darnold 100 out of 100 times is the attitude. Like,
yeah, exactly. The moxie, the confidence. Yeah.
It feels like Baker Mayfield is like a guy that like he tries to whoop your ass and he tries to play the game so hard. And like, there's times where it might not go his way, you know what I'm saying? But you could bet your damn ass he's going to go down swinging. He's going to go down swinging with the best of them. I remember that playoff game, man. The divisional game where they were playing the Buccaneers, and this kid, man, he spun off a sack that Hutch was going to get, and he throws a dime to Evans.
I remember that
at the end of the half. So
that, yeah.
Like this kid is this guy, Baker Mayfield. He was a first overall pick for a reason, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I feel like Todd Bowles has got the best of him, and he's with a team that like actually has like the talent to really succeed with him. And I think the Buccaneers are a dangerous ass team, to be honest.
Yeah,
I really
Baker.
do so.
Baker's a guy you take into a knife fight, and Darnold's the one you're like, oh man, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I also seen Viking fans saying like I seen it with Lions fans too, but I thought it was the Vikings fans that are funny as hell. They're like, I'd rather go play Tampa Bay than LA. Well, obviously you lost to LA, but you know, going to play Tampa Bay, I'll pass on that, man.
No LA. I do not want to see Stafford here, and I don't want to see him there.
Here we go. Leo says we need to buy more than anything. I totally agree with that. I don't.
And that's more so for the health. I think the Lions are okay. Like that's one thing Dan said that people need to understand. When they asked him that question, he also said like we can go anywhere. We're undefeated on the road, so we're not afraid to go on the road and win. However, we want to win in front of our fans. We want everything to be determined in our house. Like we hold all the cards if we do what we do what we're supposed to do. But we're not afraid to go on the road. The bye is for the injuries. That's clearly what the bye is for, because this team is ready to go for the playoffs. I have no doubt in my mind. You don't go 14-2 and say you're not ready for the playoffs.
And if we're going to be honest, they had that early bye, and they deserve another bye here because
it's just injuries, man. That's the only reason why we need the bye is injuries to get.
And I think they did need the deserved rest. To be honest, like I think the bye would be great for them as rest as well.
They would enjoy that for sure.
Yep. Leo says, just have to say we are blessed with the players we got. This, they did deserve this, and I want them to go down in history. I agree with you, Leo.
Yeah,
Leo says
we'll talk more about the accolades after season's over.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Got to keep going.
Gibbs and JMO are Lightning and Lightning, Sonic, and Bolt. Interesting.
I don't know who Bolt is.
It's probably some superhero.
No.
Is the Lions' offense as good as it was in the first contest? Is the Lions' defense as good as it was in the first contest? The answer is both questions no. So how are the Lions going to win? The Vikings are better on both sides of the ball.
I disagree. Who have the Vikings played? Like let's go through their schedule real quick. Let's give them a little taste and let's tell them who they've played. They've only played one winning team in the last 5 games. I think that was the Whackers.
Yeah.
They have one of the weakest schedules in the NFL, period. Who have they played? How have they been battle tested? Tell me. The Lions have played a first place schedule. It doesn't matter if we lost Aiden Hutchinson. That was the game after Aiden. Of course, our defense is not going to be better. But you know what? We found ways to win.
Well, I'll say this. Is the offense better than it was in week? Was it week?
Yes.
6?
The offense is damn good. It's number 1 in points per game. It's damn good. Well, it has not lost. It's not number one.
I'm gonna use a counterpoint to what who was it? What was the guy's name? I believe it was Jake or Maria. He says, is the Lions offense as good as it was in the first contest? I would say it's better now because
it is.
JMO is starting to hit his strides. JMO wasn't the same JMO early on. I think wasn't he suspended for that game, or was it the Packer game?
No, he was suspended. I think that game was he?
I think he was. I
Yeah,
don't think he had a good game.
No, he was. No, he played. Because he was suspended for the. He was suspended for the. No, you're right. He was for the Viking game. I think he was suspended for the Viking game and the Packer game, and then he came back for the Houston game.
The Titan game was in between though, so it might have been the Titans and Packers.
Oh, it was Titan Packers. You're right. Yeah. Okay, so he played in the Viking game.
So I'm gonna pull up their schedule because I don't think that this is anything to be really worried about. But I do think the Lions' offense is better. Is the defense better? Obviously not. When you lose as many players,
and then they'd have Zadarius Smith in that game too. Let's forget that.
I don't think the Vikings are better on both sides of the ball though. I don't buy that one bit. Like I really don't.
The Lions. The Vikings literally after they beat the Rams or they lost to the Rams actually, they played 7 games with teams without winning records. So take that.
Let me pull up this Minnesota schedule because I'm really interested. I know their schedule is not that great because didn't they have a 3rd place schedule last year? All right, I got it right here.
They had the 29th toughest schedule in the NFL.
All right, so they played the New York Giants in week 1, trash. They played the San Francisco 49ers. They beat them that was at home, and they beat them by 6. Okay. They beat the Houston Texans.
That's before we thought the Niners were going to just implode.
Yeah, they beat the Houston Texans pretty decisively, but I look at the Houston Texans on the road, and they're not the same team as the Houston Texans at home. So there you go. They beat the Green Bay Packers, which is an all right win, but the Packers could be literally winless in the division right now. They beat the Jets, which are trash. They lost to the Lions. They lost to the Rams. And then they beat the Indianapolis Colts, trash. The Jacksonville Jaguars, trash. Titans, trash. Bears, trash. Arizona, I give them that. That's a decent win, but it was at home again. And they won 23-22, so that's a closer game than it was. Falcons, what do you want to say about the Falcons?
They're okay. I think.
All right.
That was pre Kirk Cousins. That was pre Penix.
Bears, trash. I give them the Seattle win because
I don't know about Seattle, man. Seattle's interesting for me because I mean they look like shit against us and the Packers, and then they look. Well, and then they could barely beat the Bears. So, I mean, really, how good are they if you can barely beat the Bears?
Well, Seahawks, I think they kind of met their match. I think Geno Smith was playing injured too, so we'll see what that is. But
the main thing is the Lions are more battle tested than the Vikings are. And honestly, the thing is that we've had more victories walking away than the Vikings have. You look at all those wins, they were barely under 5 points or stuff like that. So, I mean, they can win close games against bad teams. That's what it tells me. But look at the teams they've lost to. They lost to the Rams. They lost to us twice.
See,
we are going to lose to us twice.
I just don't buy that the Vikings are this monolith. Like, I don't buy it. Like, obviously, they got 14 wins, and I respect the hell out of them. They're a good team. There's no doubt about it. I like some of the players, like Ivan Pace. I like Harrison Smith. I like, Van Ginkel. I like all those guys. But let's be honest, the guys, like, they haven't beat anybody who like, oh, yeah, that's a good win. Like, they beat the Green Bay Packers, and the Green Bay Packers could be winless in this division right now. They're 0-4. They got the one win against the Bears, but that was off the finger of Carl Brooks, which could have been. It could have went either way, right? That's a rare occurrence where you win off a blocked field goal.
Let me ask you a question. If the Lions had Hutch, McNeil, CD, and Barnes right now to go along with who we have right now, would this game even be close?
No.
That's my point. You take away those guys, and now we're on even playing field. That's kind
of what I agree with you right there, because I think if you take away those guys, like when you talk to Vikings fans, the first thing they'll bring up is you're injured. Okay, we're injured. We're 14-2. We got 22 players on IR.
And we've lost 4 starters on defense, like key starters on defense. So you take those, put those back on our team right now, this game's not even going to be close. Lions win walking away. That's my point, is that we're on an even level because we have 4 stars out of our defense. You put those 4 stars on our defense right now, this game's not even close.
I agree there. Also, I should be amiss to show you this. Kirby Joseph had a little Instagram thing for Mr. Stafford. And you know what? This comes
Go
down
Kirby,
to.
I agree with you. Yeah, fuck Stafford.
It comes down to Stafford calling Kirby Joseph on the hit when he was mic'd up dirty. Like, that was totally uncalled for, because honestly, like we talked about it in the early part of the podcast, like, where do you want him to hit? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is he supposed to hit? If he hits him in the middle section, and would you rather your tight end get his head taken off? Like, back in the day, like you seen guys get their head taken off, and they got CTE now. So pick your poison. What do you want? Like, that's basically what I think.
And Stafford knows better than that, man. Stafford's always been a class guy that's never been one to mix up with other people. For him to say that was just wrong, man. I mean, he knows it was a legal hit. It's just you took out one of your guys. I get it. You're upset. It happens. It's football. Get over it. You know? I mean, we've seen some dirty plays on our end on some of our players, but we're not bitching about it. It's just part of the football game, you know? Like, if you don't want your knees to be taken out, don't put them in the middle. Simple as that.
It's just very, very interesting, man. The whole thing with the way that they did it and everything, it was just stupid. But I really hope that we see this coming this weekend. Obviously Kirby Joseph is a hell of a player. We know that. But
Kirby's going to be so motivated, not getting the Pro Bowl, and
I think we're going to see some of this though.
Here's the snap to Purdy. Wants to throw. Does. Middle. Intercepted by the Lions. Picked up by Kirby Joseph. Joseph to the 38. The Lions have it back. They lead by 6, 7:34 to go. That is a huge play by that
Shout out
Lions
to Dan
defense.
Miller, man. I love Dan Miller.
Dan Miller's been on the podcast before. He's going to come back on. He'll be on, but
if he comes on, I want to talk to him. Put me on there. I would love.
He's got a busy schedule, and I told him that I'd love to have him on in the off season.
Hell yeah, I love Dan Miller. But thing about Kirby is that's not surprising, because if you watch Kirby's game all year, He's everywhere. Like, dude, the guy should have more than 9 picks. He should probably have like 12 or 13. I think he dropped a couple. He anticipated a couple too early and could have picked it off. I mean, look at the Niner game. He picked off that ball before he picked off the other one, Like, the dude just has a knack for the ball. And I'm telling you, man, they're playing with fire if they go deep with Jetta and Kirby's roaming there. Either he's going to lay a lick to Jetta or he's going to pick that ball off. Like, I'm telling you, man. Kirby's going to watch the eyes of Darnold all game. Just you watch.
And Leo said what I agree with 100%. He said Joseph won that San Francisco game for us. Game ball, baby.
Oh, hell yeah. For sure.
Yeah,
we were dead in the water until Kirby Joseph showed up.
And then Roy says it'll be the first time a 14-win team didn't win their division, which is insane to me.
Crazy.
And
it's on the road.
It also is stupid because the Buccaneers got 8 wins or 9 wins or something like that.
Well, right now it's the Falcons, man. I think the Falcons control their own destiny.
No, the Buccaneers do. No, the Buccaneers do because the Falcons lost to the Commanders, so now it's back to the Buccaneers.
Oh, so the Buccaneers in the playoffs again?
Yeah, and I don't know who they're playing. I think they're playing.
I saw the Falcons still on there.
They're playing the New Orleans Saints. No, because Commanders beat the Falcons last week, so that opened up the spot for them.
So if the Falcons win, then it doesn't matter. If the Bucs win, right?
If the Buccaneers beat the Saints, which I think they should beat the Saints, it don't matter. They can win. Then Atlanta can win.
If the Bucs find a way to lose, then the Falcons are in.
Yeah, they're playing Carolina. So these two teams are playing the bottom dwellers of their division. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Tough division
1 o'clock
games. You never know. Yeah, you never know.
1 o'clock games. And then, I don't know, Broncos at Chiefs at 4:25. That Patrick Mahomes ain't playing, so that's pointless. I feel like everyone's just going to be waiting for Sunday night, to be honest. So,
yeah, I hate having to wait that long. But
oh, man.
It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it for sure. So now that we've, done everything we've been able to do, we've gone through the defense, we've gone through the offense, we've gone through all this jazz. What do you think of her score?
I knew you were gonna ask that question. Oh man. Whew. I'm gonna say 45-42 Lions.
I like that.
I think Jake Bates wins it for us on a game-winning field goal.
Oh, we're gonna get a winning field. Mayock is gonna be freaking. He's gonna lose his mind.
Money Bates.
Poor Mayock. He's gonna need blood pressure pills after this. Good thing he's a pharmaceutical guy. He'll be all right.
Yeah.
God. I'll go 42-38.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a last second touchdown that wins it for us, and I think it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. Or you know what? I take that back. I think it's going to be J-Mo. I think J-Mo is really he's going to get loose at some point, and I look for J-Mo to have a big game. You know who I look for to have a big game too is Laporta. I think Laporta's really coming on too.
Laporta's been he really has been playing well for sure.
So it'll be interesting to see.
And it's the battle of the Iowa tight ends. Who's gonna be better, Cockinson or Laporta?
Who?
I said who's gonna be better, Cockinson or Laporta?
I think they'll both be pretty good. I think Laporta should be better though, to be honest. I think if Hawkinson's getting matched up with Iffy, I think that'll be the difference.
If he did a pretty decent job against Kittle and Hawkinson is not Kittle by no means. So I think he can definitely hold down TJ. One thing also too is with Gibbs, Minnesota struggles with Gibbs, big time. Like Gibbs gets off, man. Good luck with that.
Gibbs had a nice day against them. Leo changed his score. He said 45-40 Lions. So
here in our 40s. He's like, hey, I gotta get mine up. Yeah.
He's all bored. Lions bad guy fan. This guy is a great guy. Very cool. All I know is, first of all, is smack talking by players just need to chill when it comes to the game time. We don't need any stupid penalties. You don't want to do something stupid that would do with your actions. You're playing. Yeah, I agree with him 100%. I thought last week with Terrion Arnold and Kirby Joseph, I thought, obviously Kirby was sticking up for a teammate, but no after the whistle penalties. I think that I think they are going to try to bait JMO and Kirby into those plays because they know they could do it, and that's going to be.
Yeah.
That just sucks. But
Lions
you're
just
right.
Got to be physical, but be smart being physical. Don't try to mix it up or anything like that.
All between the whistles. Keep it between the whistles,
right.
man. Just keep it between the whistles. Leo says here, he says Laporta also blocks a lot.
Laporta's been he's been
Laporta's your he's your all-around tight end that you love to have on your team. That's for sure, right there.
He's just coming into his own, man. He's only a second year.
Yeah,
this guy's so bright for him.
It's going to be a good game between the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings.
The Queens.
Oh man, I'm gonna play this clip by Dan Campbell to get us all fired up, and then we'll end the podcast with a little bit of a back and forth, and then we'll be good.
I'm good. I woke up yesterday. I'm ready, man. I've got controlled fury, and I'm ready to go. I'm absolutely ready to go. I don't go the other way. So, and the team won't either. We're on a mission, and we're not going to feel sorry for ourselves and wallow in everything. We had plays to make, we didn't make them. And it's a tight game, a good opponent, playoff type atmosphere, and you got to make that one extra play that we didn't. And so we will use this as fuel. I got pure octane right now. I woke up, I'm ready. So we're moving forward.
We're moving forward. We're on a mission, man.
It's the coffee, man. He had his Dan Campbell special.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one of those Dan Campbell coffees on Sunday. I'm gonna be all fired up, man.
Hey, what was the bet? Were we supposed to make a bet on that? You were supposed to do it.
JMO didn't get 150 yards.
Oh,
he almost
didn't.
He almost did, but
he almost did. Yeah. He almost did.
Almost did, and I almost won my fantasy championship, but I got cut short. It sucked. All right, we got two more comments from Leo. Leo and Lions bad guy. We got Leo says I'm sure Dan will talk to them about and tell them about their tempers. Let's not let them make mistakes. Agreed 100%. And Lions bad guy says every player needs to have control. I agree 100%. They need to have control. This is a game where if you make the mistake of your emotions getting the best of you, not the right thing. And I think you
can't give free yards to a good offense. That's as simple as that. We talk about let's just talk real quick about the Niners play when Kirby hit that guy into the stands.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Although it was pretty funny, but
it was funny, but here's the thing. This is why it was a bad play, because they were about to kick a field goal.
Yep.
And that penalty was offsetting, so they basically got to redo the down. If Kirby didn't do nothing, Juwan Jennings would have got that 15-yard personal foul, and that would have backed them up probably to the 20 or 25-yard line, and more likely would have kicked the field goal. So you can't do that against a team like Minnesota, man, because Minnesota is going to make you pay. You have to be smart, and you have to control your emotions. It's going to be a very emotional game for both teams because they know what's at stake and what's important. And Minnesota wants so bad to come in and beat us because we knew that we beat them at their house. And Detroit just wants to beat the shit out of Minnesota because they want that number one seed. So there's going to be a lot of emotion. So, yeah, whoever has the more even keel is going to win this game, and the turnovers. That's going to be the main two things that I'm going to highlight is going to win us the game, is staying even keel and not turning over the ball and forcing turnovers.
Yeah, I feel like anytime you play sports and you have the opportunity to, not give a team any room to breathe, it's not beating yourself. I think that's the biggest thing that comes out of sports. I mean, we see it all the time in any kind of sport, like hockey. You see it all the time. Team takes a bad penalty and ends up in their net. Football, you see it all the time with penalties, like a press interference penalty.
When the game is when the games are matchups,
everything
close,
matters though.
Yeah, the coaching matters. Coaching, the margin of error is very small, and this is where coaching comes into play. And Dan's got to have his boys ready. It's as simple as that.
I love the old quote though. I forget who it was from, but he said that I think it was Bill Belichick. He said every game comes down to 2 or 3 plays, and that's basically what it comes down to. And there's gonna be 2 or 3 plays that we're gonna overanalyze, or think that that's what set us apart against the Minnesota Vikings, or we're gonna overanalyze it that it didn't go the way we thought it was gonna go. But this has been a productive podcast, Mr. Nate the Great, and we will see you guys in the next podcast. I will be live, Three Kings, around 11 o'clock. We'll be doing the pregame podcast, just a little quick podcast, probably about an hour with my cousin, and then afterwards we will have the post-game podcast. Right
afterwards. Be their epic podcast, or oh man, I don't even want to talk about that.
Either I'm going to be Dr. Phil,
Not
or
gonna
I'm
happen.
going to be either I'm going to be Dr. Phil, or I'm going to be Phil from The Hangover. So it's going to be all right. We're going to be fine.
I'll be honest with you, man. If the game goes the other way, I probably will have to take a break on that one, because that one's going to be a little tough to swallow.
Yeah, I'll probably have to do it myself, but it's going to be all right. We're going to be all fine. I'll kind of coax you guys.
It's going to be great. We're going to have a victory. It's going to be screaming, maybe some crying. It's going to be awesome, man. I'm excited.
I'm praying for a win. As always, I'll have my game preview video coming out probably tomorrow. I might record it tonight. We'll see what happens tonight, but I might record it tonight. But anyways, we will talk to you guys on Sunday, and then after the game on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings, and hopefully we come out with a win. I got a lot.
We will.
I never like.
We will.
I never like to say we will, because I feel like it's. I'm superstitious. I got superstition, man.
It's okay.
All right.
I'll say it for you. We will win. We'll see you next time.
Leo, if we lose, we all need Xanax. We'll end the podcast on that. Leo is a champ, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast. We talk more Detroit Lions football here on the Detroit Lions News Podcast.
What's the Queens?